Dzień dobry, witam Państwa bardzo serdecznie na spotkaniu z Tomim Gulliksenem, czyli reżyserem filmu Wojna, sztuk. Jesteśmy po projekcji. Witamy Cię, Tomi. Dziękujemy, że jesteś z nami i dziękujemy, że możemy porozmawiać na temat filmu zrealizowanego w Korei, zrealizowanego w sposób fantastyczny i będzie na pewno o czym rozmawiać.
I think North Korea is probably one of the few places left on Earth where you can actually go and find something undiscovered, or like it's almost like a fairy tale. Really, it's such a different place. So it's, you know, in our time we travel so much, and so much of the world is discovered. So it's in a way it feels very different going there from anywhere else in the world. And I have been there 3 times since 2015, and this was my 3rd time. So you get used to it in a way, and I'm very glad that I had the chance to go there twice before we made this film, because I think you have to learn how to make film in North Korea. It's like a film school of its own, because it's so different.
Ja przyznam, że to jest jakaś fantastyczna w ogóle historia. Jak sobie wyobrażamy, że można kręcić filmy fabularne i je wymyślać i używać pełnej swojej kreatywności i wymyślać pewne historie, to takiej historii, w której do Korei Północnej wyruszają artyści z różnych krajów. Trudno to sobie wyobrazić, to jeszcze artyści, którzy propagują sztukę nieoczywistą. Jak się w ogóle dowiedziałeś o tych wyprawach, bo to nie jedna wyprawa, a kilka wcześniej, jak znalazłeś ten pomysł na film i jak ta abstrakcja stała się rzeczywistością?
The story that you showed is unbelievably original. It's one thing to make a film which is completely made up, created, and another to make something like this, to send real life artists into North Korea and to show what they do there. Where did your idea come from, and how did you manage to end up in North Korea to create such a movie?
I was very lucky to know the Norwegian artist who was like the artistic leader, Morten Trovik. And he has had this very special and unique collaboration with the authorities in North Korea for I think, you know, almost 15 years or so in between there. And he invited me to go there in 2015 with him, just to get to know the culture committee, and he had some plans for some projects he wanted to do there. So that was just a research trip, and then we went back in we went back the same year, 2015 in August, and we, because he was arranging the first rock concert ever with the Slovenian rock group Laibach. And they did a rock concert in Pyongyang, and we made also then a film about that. So that was called Liberation Day. And the DMZ Academy has been a plan of Morten's since a long time, and I really felt that was the most amazing story. And really, it was about gaining Morten's trust and gaining the trust of the North Korean authorities, so that I was able to, with my DOP, to go there and follow whatever happened. So that was really the deal. I spent, you know, 2 trips making the North Korean Committee of Culture trusting me, and also with Morten. So I gained access to both the country and the group, and we never knew exactly what would happen, but we knew that whatever it would be something special.
Miałeś jakieś doświadczenie, ale doświadczenie to jedno, a rzeczywistość to drugie, kiedy się chwyta kamerę i próbuje się w północnej Korei nakręcić film taki tak złożony. I czy ty wiedziałeś, co możesz, a czego nie możesz? Czy gdzie widziałeś te ograniczenia i jak się w tym próbowałeś odnaleźć? Gdzie był ta granica, której wiedziałeś, że nie możesz przekroczyć?
I think for all documentary filmmakers, restrictions are a part of your profession. You always have to deal with it. It's remarkably difficult to make documentaries because, even in open democracies, there are a lot of places where you can't film. And in private people's life, there are a lot of situations where they don't want a camera present. So that is always something you have to deal with. And of course, North Korea being a very strict regime with no freedom of speech as we know it, and very strict media policy, you have to find a way to make your film within the restrictions. If you decide to go on war or just try to always fight the restrictions, then you're going to come back with what I say is 95% of everything that has been made in North Korea is about the restrictions. So it's okay. We know that, we know there's a lot of, don't film here, or you can't do that, you can't do this. We know that. So why go there and make another film about that? So I think I knew that to be able to make a truthful or as truthful as possible film, I needed, and that's also the part of the idea, I needed to bring a part of the story that I could control. So when we had part of the cast, a part of the characters that we know and we can control them. We can control they are real. We can control that we have access to them. And also when we bring the characters and we kind of bring the story, we also know that something will happen. And then it's about finding safe locations. Because if you want to just wander around in the streets and go like a little, gonzo filming and going wherever you like, road movie, that's not possible. But if you find, let's say, a hotel, a venue, some place where you have walls, and then you can actually have quite good working conditions within those walls, because that is safe. Because what they don't want is that you just get lost or something and you just wander around. So in the Liberation Day film, we had the concert venue where we all spent all our days because they were preparing for the concert. And for the DMC Academy or War of Art film, we filmed a lot inside the University of Arts, where they did a lot of the work, and inside some of the hotels. And I'm also, that's part of what I'm glad that it's my third trip, because I knew how to plan it. And I have to say that in a way, it's very restrictive, but they are also very open to conflicts. So for example, in other cultures, I think conflicts would be, no, let's take that in another room where there's no cameras. But I actually felt that also for Liberation Day and for War of Art, I felt that, a lot of the conflicts they take in the open, and that's, that's a gift to a documentary filmmaker. So I think it's all about learning where you're going, learning the culture, learn how they think, and I think I was very open with them. I think they knew what kind of film I was making also. So it's a strange way of, but it's to me it's a two-way cooperation, because you can go there and you can be like, oh, it's so difficult to work. Oh, it's impossible. They are so, but I think there are two sides of that story, and they are, of course. They have a very special political system, and they have also experienced a lot of films and news stories coming out of North Korea that are really, really, really bad for them. So to a certain extent, I can understand them, but I felt that I actually had quite good conditions considering I was in North Korea. Yeah, I just have one last thing, because it's always something people, they have never checked my material. I've been there 3 times filming. They have never checked the material going out. Never. And no hard drives, no nothing, no memory cards, no nothing. But every time we go in, they check everything. So at the airport, they go through your laptop, your phone, your hard drives, everything. So they are more concerned about us contaminating the people's minds, than bringing, bad publicity out of North Korea. They don't care about that. So for example, I think that a lot of people are surprised by that fact, because they think that we will be like censored and they would take out everything that's bad for them, but that never happened.
Ja mam pytanie i kontynuację tego, co powiedziałeś, że można znaleźć miejsce i nakręcić coś w określonym gronie, coś, co jest wyjątkowe. I dla mnie wyjątkową sceną jest scena na schodach pomiędzy rozmową fotografa z Chin i bohatera, protagonisty filmu z Północnej Korei. Ta rozmowa, w której chłopak z Chin opowiada o świecie, który u nich już się zmienił. Jak w ogóle udało ci się nakręcić tą scenę i jak długo trzeba było zdobywać zaufanie bohaterów, żeby dojść do tak niesamowitego wybuchu emocji i refleksji?
Yeah, that's I agree. it's the scene that I also like the best, and it's kind of what I aimed for going there. I was like, if I can get one scene that I feel is as truthful as possible, then it's all worth it, because that's what's difficult. It's not difficult to go there and, like I said earlier, find everything that we dislike, everything that is different, and we find appalling, like no democracy, no human rights. It's very easy to find that, but it's difficult to find some kind of true human emotions and reflections, and that's what I wondered about. What are people like there, behind all those uniforms and strict facades and everything. And so that was my aim. I knew that, of course, Quentin, the Chinese filmmaker and photographer, he grew up in a China that was pretty much like North Korea today. So it's a kind of a time machine, like he says himself. So I knew that would be, in a way, I would love to have a scene where Mr. Ham could talk to his future self, in a way, and vice versa. So that was the idea. And of course, I spent 10 days setting up that scene, with always speaking with Quentin. I would say, if you ever have the chance to speak to Mr. Ham, I think it would be great for you to have a conversation, because you have your backgrounds and stuff. So he was, prepared, and Mr. Ham just gaining his trust in a way, because he was very strict about, he didn't really want to be a part of the film, and they don't like the cameras. And then I just knew that I had to wait for the right occasion, and they just had this positive experience together with the photo shoot that worked. They didn't think it would work, but it worked. So they had a good connection, and I thought, okay, this is the moment. And when they sat down on those stairs, I knew, my DOP, this is the moment. And the problem is that you cannot put a small lavalier, a microphone, on the North Koreans. They're not allowed to wear them. So that's why I always have a sound problem with them, and you cannot have other kinds of microphones. So you have to be quite subtle about it. So I knew that I wanted good sound on that conversation, because it was the reason for us to go there. So it was a very special kind of way that I knew he could never give me his consent. He could never say okay, because he's not allowed to. But I took the microphone and I placed it on his bag. He kept his bag or suitcase between his legs when we were sitting on the stairs. And I just carefully placed the microphone on, clipped it onto his handbag. And while looking in his eyes, like please stop me. If you want to stop me, but very slowly put it there and just went back. And he just accepted it. And that was like a moment of trust. Like he could have said, no, but he did. He didn't, you know, he let it pass. And then they just had this great conversation, which is like 30 minutes long. And to me, that was the highlight. And I'm really glad that it also gives people a chance to see some of the parts of North Korea that you haven't seen before. So yeah, I'm glad you noticed that.
Ale w tym filmie bardzo ważnym elementem jest też to, i taki jest też tytuł jednego festiwalu w Bydgoszczy, podtytuł Sztuka jako droga do rozumienia, gdzie to właśnie tym medium, które łączy albo dzieli, jest właśnie sztuka i próba nie tylko zbudowania tego filmu na relacji ludzkiej, ale tym nośnikiem jest właśnie sztuka i sztuka abstrakcyjna, tak samo jak ta sytuacja trochę. I chciałem zapytać, co to znaczyło dla ciebie? Czy rzeczywiście wierzysz w to, że właśnie w tym pomieszaniu języków to sztuka może być tym wspólnym mianownikiem, który coś spaja i do czegoś prowadzi?
Yeah, I think it's astonishing, and what is really impressive is how the North Korean authorities know how important art and culture is, because it's so strong. And a lot of, you know, in Cambodia and other regimes, they try to fight the intellectuals and the cultural elite in a way. But in North Korea, they obviously understood that it's you cannot fight it. You have to use it as your weapon. And they use it very efficiently because it's, to me, I kind of belong to the tradition where I feel that the purpose of art is to fill the gap between our dreams and reality, because our reality never becomes like we dream of. So, you know, the reason we don't jump off a bridge or something is because we have something to keep us fantasizing and dreaming and stimulated in a way. And art is really important. And of course, it can sometimes be really beautiful, but it can also confront us and also in a way be very dividing, because it always tells something about ourselves in a way, about the world and reality, and that is based on a lot of common knowledge, but that common knowledge is not always common, and I found it really interesting to see how exploding and controversial some very, very thing that we take for granted, like just abstract art. And it's so controversial in North Korea because it might, you know, every form of art that might, people might find difficult to understand. So they get confused. Confusion is not a good thing in North Korea. You know, they want to fight confusion. People are not supposed to be confused. While in our part of the world, that's can be, you know, a good compliment to a piece of art. You know, it's confusing in a way that I enjoy, and that's kind of what I liked about the way that you can use actually art to open the minds and develop the minds in a place like North Korea. But I also like the way that the North Koreans, they have, you know, an art form where idea is not important. Idea is not a part of art. You know, it's craftsmanship. Technique is very important. And it used to be more like that in the Western world as well. But idea has become very, very, very important. Maybe too important, you might say. That idea in itself is enough. And to see also a lot of artists that are, some of them are very based on ideas, to be challenged also by a society where craftsmanship is everything, and without technique, you're nothing. I like the way that they are also being, in a way, challenged, and they are very uncomfortable. And so in a way, it also says a lot about us And I like the way that our artists were really challenged being there. And it's your art is stripped down naked, because people understand why is it art? So what, and that was kind of the journey for me, to see them being challenged by art that appeals to different part of our intellect, not just saying the world is pretty, the world is beautiful, everything's going to be all right, enjoy your life, and also seeing our artists being maybe for the first time in their life, like really, really, really left alone with people who are extremely critical about what they call art, and they have nothing to really, no one to help them. So, yeah.
Przebywanie z artystami to też jest taka sytuacja, w której artyści dążyli do realizacji swoich celów. Oni się zderzali bardziej może nawet niż ty z tą rzeczywistością. Czy miałeś taką sytuację, która była jakby mogła spowodować, że nie wiem, nie będzie was tam za chwilę, że ktoś was wyrzuci z północnej Korei, bo artyści mają swoje ego, bo oni chcą jakby dojść do samego końca tego, co sobie zaplanowali, może nawet bardziej niż ty w filmie. Czy miałeś takie poczucie, że sztuka ponad wszystko może spowodować jakiś wybuch tej sytuacji?
Yeah, that's a risk you have to take, and just bringing a Bible into North Korea is enough to be sent to prison. So it's a risk, but I have to say that when you go there as an artist, you are hosted by a committee for cultural relations, and that's very different from going there as a tourist or something, because these are cultural people, and they are in a way much more forgiving or much more friendly and elastic. But the risk is there, and the day before we went home, the nuclear tests, the H-bomb, we were really, really concerned that there was a war coming up, because we knew that Americans, they had their annual big military exercise in South Korea. So they had a lot of soldiers, their Marines, and they had their jets in just patrolling in the air just south of the border. So we knew that the US had a lot of military forces in the area, and the H-bomb went off. And when we actually filmed the last scene, when they have their presentation, there is a moment when we hear the sirens in the city, like a bomb siren, like there might be an airstrike. And we hear it, and everybody stops, and it's silent, and we hear those sirens go off, and then it's like, okay. And then we realized two things. First, it might be a war breaking out, and the second thing we realized was they have no plan. There is no evacuation. There's no like we're going down to the cellar or no. It's like if we go down like this, and that was quite frightening. Because they will, and I think that's their mentality, they will go down fighting everyone. They will not be like, in their minds, cowards going down to the basements or whatever. So we just realized that we are stuck here. And then some of us tried to get in touch with the embassies. Like there are not many countries that have embassies in Pyongyang, but Germany and Britain. So they tried to contact them, but there was no one answering there. And we are quite cut off from everything when you're there. So we're like, okay, have everyone been evacuated? Are we the last foreigners left in North Korea before the attack? So we had a couple of hours that were quite scary, and people were really, really scared. And so when we and there's only one way to get out. It's through the airport. So we were afraid that I might close the airport or whatever. So when our plane left, I think we were also extremely happy and relieved. So you feel the physical stress being there, and you know you have to play a role. You have to put a face on, because you can never be truly yourself. And that is also very tiring, because you can never really trust anything for 12, 14 days. And when you go back, you just feel it's so physical. So when you come to Beijing, even though, you know, you turn on your phone, there's no Facebook, no Twitter, because you're still not in a very open or free country, but it still feels like you're home, because it's like, it's so good. But yeah, but it's a physical feeling. And also strange thing, because everywhere you go, you're taken in a bus. You see that a lot in the film. We go by bus always. Yeah. That's because they want to have control of a group. And even though you're just going 300 meters, they will take you in a bus. So you get bussed around a lot. And you know the feeling like from school or wherever, going into the bus and everybody going out. It's a kind of it's a strange feeling. You feel like sheep in a way. You go in and out the bus, always in and out, and you get used to it. So actually, every time I've been there, and I come home, and the first time I go into my car, I sit down, and I turn on the ignition, and I'm going to drive. I feel, I have a physical feeling in my body telling me I'm doing something wrong. It's like, you can't do this. It's not allowed. You can't drive on your own. And my brain is, of course, trying to tell the body, that's bullshit. You can drive. It's my car. I'm in a free country. But my body is telling me, no, it's not right. And it's just strange how fast you get used to a regime like that, and your body just follows it, and your body screaming, this is wrong. But so I wouldn't have believed, but it's true, and it's very physical. Thank you. It was so nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
See you next.
Bye bye.
Yeah.